This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI, they already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. It is an introvert's dream. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And on today's episode, we have some news, and I think it's interesting news. I think you're all going to enjoy it. But before we get to that, I just wanted to give a little shout out to someone in the community that also creates content. There is a YouTube channel called Dandy Funhouse, and I put a link in the show notes. Neil Dandy does an amazing job with his YouTube channel. He typically talks about pop culture, toys, and games. It's a lot of fun. I think what he does is really interesting. He recently did a deep dive into Whammo. And that was a really good episode, and things that I would not expect to find out, I found out in that episode, so that was cool. His latest episode is a Halloween special. He goes to the Halloween Spirit Store, the Spirit Store. I don't think it's called the Halloween Spirit Store. I think it's just called the Spirit Store. But he goes to the Spirit Store and shows off what's new, for Halloween in 2025. And then on the second part of the episode, he breaks down the horror movies of 2025 that he liked and maybe some that he didn't like. Ultimately, I really enjoyed this episode. It's about 20 minutes long. It's safe for kids. Again, Neil is a part of the community, so let's go support him. He has over 500 videos, so he has put in the work. That is dedication, because as much as I complain about how hard it is to put together this show, as a video is so much harder. Like this is easy compared to video. And, I do a little bit of video with Beyond the Post, and what Neil does is still harder than what I do for Beyond the Post, which is that podcast I do with Rob Dunwood. Season 4 is coming. I don't mean to mention that, but whatever, it's coming, about content creation. I'm editing videos as we speak. So it's at top of mind. But anyway, go check out what Neil's doing. I put a link to that particular episode in my show notes. All right, let's start off. Lucid. Lucid says it's yet to be released or even officially unveiled. Mid-sized EV will eventually be capable of level 4 autonomy. So, yeah, in unrelated news, I will eventually be capable of playing tight end for the Chicago Bears. I think one is more likely than the other. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. Is it level 4 autonomy or a 50-year-old man, soon to be 51-year-old man playing for the Chicago Bears? I think they're close percentage-wise. Anyway, back to Lucid. Lucid will be using Nvidia chips, software, and other technology to pull off this eventual feat. The mid-size EV for Lucid is going to come in 3 different variants. It'll eventually be released in 2026. As far as the level 4 autonomous driving stuff, goes, maybe it will come out. I hesitate to think. I'm a little skeptical that they're going to come right out of the gate with something that's comparable to what Waymo has, for instance. I have my doubts. But if they're able to make that work, I really wonder how much it will cost. Tesla is charging $8,000 for their full self-driving package. I would imagine that Lucid is going to charge something similar to that because the mid-size SUV is supposed to come in around $50,000. So I would imagine that Lucid would probably be price competitive with Tesla. But I think if Lucid was able to get the mid-sized EV around $50,000 for the purchase price, and then maybe whatever they're calling their full self-driving package, if they can get that at $5,000, I think that's a no-brainer, especially if it works. Especially if it works. I wonder how hesitant people are going to be to buy or shell out money on a future promise. Now, there is another way that Lucid could go with this, and it could just be a monthly subscription and just make that monthly subscription really reasonable. That's another way to do it as well. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Speaking of Lucid and autonomous driving, a few months ago, we talked about Uber partnering with Lucid and Nuro to deploy Lucid Gravity robotaxis. And just a reminder of this whole deal, it's a $300 million investment from Uber into Lucid and Nuro. They're going to have eventually 20,000 Lucid Gravities. It said Lucid vehicles deployed over 6 years. Level 4 autonomy via a system called Nuro Driver. That's Nuro's part in this whole package, this whole partnership. Recently, Lucid delivered its first Gravity to Nuro to begin the outfitting process for their Level 4 autonomous system. We now know where the first Lucid Gravities will be deployed, or I should say the first Uber, Nuro, Lucid, Gravity, robotaxis will be deployed. Drum roll, please. Casper, Wyoming, which is what I read in the Electrek article. So the way that I had my screen set up, it just said Casper, Wyoming. I was like, well, that's really interesting. I'm not 100% sure that there's a lot of autonomous vehicle testing in Casper. I know it snows, so maybe that's a reason they picked Casper. But it was just like that. This seems like a really odd place compared to where a lot of folks, a lot of these companies are testing. And then I scrolled down a little bit and it said, just kidding, it's San Francisco. And I was like, well, that makes more sense. But yeah, the Casper, Wyoming thing, very funny. And especially the way I had, because my window was just below my screen a little bit when I was reading. So I didn't even see that coming. So well done. Good joke. Yeah, the first city is San Francisco, or the Bay Area is what it says. The San Francisco Bay Area, which includes more than just San Fran. It's expected to be rolled out sometime in 2026. So I'm excited about that. Moving on, Kia's new electric PV, like Paul Victor, 5 cargo van set a Guinness World Record for the longest single charge distance set by an electric van. Now, we've talked about, the car companies like Chevy and with the Silverado EV, getting amazing way beyond the range that it is advertised, right? And that's kind of a little bit of a trick, because if you never go on the highway and you're only doing surface street driving and you drive, with an intention of being maybe 5 miles below the speed limit, or you stay on a closed track, you can beat the estimated range for most vehicles, right? But for this, it's actually certified by the Guinness Book of World Records. So maybe it's not even a book anymore, but Guinness World Record, it's certified by them. And Kia did not make it easy on themselves. The van carried a 1,466 pound payload and traveled over 430 miles in real driving conditions. So again, this wasn't one of those tests where the cars were driven on a closed track or maybe on surface streets at 25 miles per hour and the AC was turned off and that kind of thing. This test was performed on a 36.2-mile loop outside of Frankfurt, Germany. It included driving through towns. They had to come to stops at stop signs, traffic lights. They had roundabouts, elevation changes, everything that you would expect a delivery van to encounter. Now, it did not appear that there was any highway or freeway driving. There could have been, and I just missed it, but it didn't appear that there was. So 430 miles in a Lucid Air, this is maybe not groundbreaking, but this is effectively, it's a cargo van, but it looks like a minivan. As a matter of fact, there is a passenger version of this van. It's got, I think they're using the 75 kilowatt hour battery version. And the typical range on this, the WLTP range, which is the World Harmonized Light Vehicle Test Procedure range, is 258 miles. Now, for those who don't know, that global standard for fuel consumption or range, they are typically generous in terms of the range. But Kia outperformed this with the PV5. Now, if you want to know more, because this is really interesting how they do the World Harmonized Light Vehicle Test Procedure, Out of Spec Reviews, their YouTube channel has an episode on this. I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. It's about a 20-minute episode, but it's super interesting in terms of how they were able to achieve 430 something miles out of a 258 mile rated vehicle. Kia claims it optimized aerodynamics. They have a efficient drivetrain. They have 3 levels of regenerative braking. It combines that with some, you combine all of that with some economical driving practices, and they were able to exceed that 258 miles by nearly 200 miles. And if you're wondering what those economical driving practices were, they maintain steady speeds whenever possible, and they use the accelerator and brake. They had gentle use, I guess, of the accelerator and brake. The total test took 22 hours. And there's one interesting detail. Well, there's several interesting details, but one in particular I want to call out is that Kia is saying that the PV5 only loses 1.5% of range for every additional 220 pounds carried in the vehicle. So that's if true, that's amazing. That's a lot of weight, and to only lose 1.5% of range for every 220 miles carried, that's not too bad. So, congratulations to Kia. So based on this, if you buy a PV5, which at the moment is either in the near future or just barely going on sale, because they're real close. I don't think they're selling them quite yet. They're only going to be available in Europe and South Korea. So if you buy one of these vehicles, whether it be the passenger van or the cargo van, should you expect to get over 400 miles of range? And I'm going to say no, but it will likely outperform whatever its advertised range is. When my wife and I were looking for a new car for her, we looked at the Ioniq 9, and one of the most common threads in the reviews that we watched was that the Ioniq 9 consistently outperformed whatever the documented range was. Now, that is very different depending on who you are, how you drive, It's not a guaranteed thing, right? There's a lot of different factors that go into how much range you're going to get in an EV, but I think that's interesting.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge. and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Skip the gym, not the workout. With Hydro, you get a full-body workout in just 20 minutes, hitting 86% of your muscles in one smooth, low-impact motion. And now there's the new Hydro Arc, Hydro's most advanced rower yet. Arc introduces Hydrometrics, tracking your power, endurance, and precision every time you row, so you can actually see your progress. Go to hydro.com and use code ROW to get $100 off any Hydro rower, including Arc. That's HYDROW.com, code ROW.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. It is an introvert's dream. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry is the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/acast.
All right, that is it for our EV news. Before we go on to our Tesla news, I just want to say if you want to support this show, you can go to supportkilowatt.com. There you can support the show one of two ways. You can support it through Supercast or you can support it through Patreon. We have support levels for as little as $1. And you get rid of all of the ads and all of the money goes back into the show. I've mentioned this a couple of different times, but I'm headed to CES in January. You know, hotel costs. I was able to get a great deal on a hotel, but hotel costs, Ubers, food, airfare, it's all very expensive. So if you want to support the show, all of the money goes to support those efforts. And for everybody who does support the show and is helping pay for that, I thank you very much. It means a lot because it helps out quite a bit. Last year, I think I spent about $1,700 total at CES. This year, I'm going to spend less because I got a really good deal on a hotel, and fingers crossed, hopefully it's nice and clean. It's a Hilton, so hopefully I think it's going to be fine, but it is a little concerning because it was a lot cheaper than a bunch of other places. And it's close to the convention center, so maybe I won't have to spend quite so much on Ubers. But anyway, yes, so just so everybody knows, that's helpful. Supportkilowatt.com. All right, let's get to our Tesla news. And we're going to kind of get to our Tesla news. I just want to call out something that I find funny. It's funny how different outlets present the news. For instance, Electrek, a publication that I find to be fantastic. I love most of the articles that I read or get information from for this show come from Electrek. They're really prolific in writing. But when it comes to reporting on Tesla, they can be, in my opinion, a bit unfair. There's nothing egregious, but you can tell that Fred Lambert, who is, I believe he doesn't own Electrek, somebody else does, and I'm blanking on his name. But Fred Lambert is pretty high up there, if not the boss. He definitely has a point of view. Now, on the other side, you have Teslarati, which in my opinion is maybe a little bit more overly optimistic when it comes to Tesla, both in their headlines and in their articles. Now, I think both Electrek and Teslarati have great content, right? I think both of their articles are fair, and there's always going to be a little bit of a bias because everybody has a point of view. But I just thought that was worth mentioning. That was just an observation, not a story or even related even closely related to our next story, which is from Electrek, Fred Lambert writing. And again, I want to say I really respect what Fred does, and I enjoy his writing. Here's the headline. Tesla's full self-driving version 14 disappoints with hallucinations, brake stabbing, and speeding. So, Electrek is reporting that FSD version 14 is a bit of a disappointment. And I'll just the story wasn't super long, so I'll just kind of break it down here. The first of the disappointments was that there are fewer miles between disengagements than expected. So in version 13, FSD version 13, it was about 400 miles, according to Electrek. And then in version 14, it was expected to be between 800 and 1,200 miles between critical disengagements. And that's the actual number is a bit lower than expected. Now, as far as I can tell, this is something that Fred Lambert predicted. So I might be wrong on that, but it says that he predicted in the article. So I'm going to go with that. According to crowdsourced data that Fred put in his article, there was 4,756 miles driven with version 14 on this crowdsourced database. And there was 732 miles in between critical disengagements. So up more miles between critical disengagements, but less than it sounds like what Fred was predicting. And there were new hallucinations, there was brake stabbing, and excessive speeding. Based on the article, it looks like Electrek was pulling much of their V14 information from videos on X. But overall, I don't think anything that they wrote was untrue, but you can definitely tell that this article had a point of view. Now, next up, again, completely unrelated, we have a Teslarati article. The article for this headline is Tesla Full Self-Driving version 14.1, First Impressions, Robotaxi-like features arrive. This is by Joey Klinder, who, again, I really like and respect. Joey got to try out, I don't know either Fred or Joey, by the way, so I'm just going to use their first names as if I do, but I never met them. Anyway, Joey got to try out FSD version 14.1 through the early access program. I'm going to start off here with Tesla's outlined release notes that Joey put together. So here are the things that, when you go to update your Tesla, here are the release notes, the things that are added. And version 14 is a big upgrade. As a matter of fact, it's the first big upgrade, I think, in 2025. So here we go. Release notes. Added arrival options for you to select where FSD should park in a parking lot, on the street, in a driveway, in a parking garage, or on a curbside. Added handling to pull over or yield for emergency vehicles, police cars, fire trucks, or ambulances. Added navigation into vision-based neural network for real-time handling of blocked roads and detours. Added additional speed profile for further customization, driving style preferred. The speed profile was the Mad Max version. Improved handling for static and dynamic gates, improved offsetting for off-road debris like trees, tires, and boxes, or tree branches, tires, and boxes, or big chunks of metal, as we learned a few weeks ago. Improve handling of several scenarios, including unprotected turns, lane changes, vehicle cut-ins, and school buses. Improved full self-driving or improved FSD's ability to manage system faults and recover smoothly from degraded operation for enhanced reliability. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time reading. And finally, added alerting for residue buildup on interior windshield that may impact the front camera visibility. If affected, visit service for cleaning. All right, so that's Those are the Tesla release notes. Here are Joey's observations about 14.1. First up, we have the speed profile. He uses the hurry profile, according to him, 95% of the time. So with 13.2.9, he would notice that it took a little bit of time to reach the speed limit. And then typically the car would, in FSD mode in the hurry profile, it would either be a mile or two above the speed limit or a mile or two below the speed limit. In 14.1, it gets right up to speed and would typically drive slightly above the speed limit. Now, Joey describes this as a speed that he would drive when FSD is turned off, but he didn't say how fast, how far above the speed limit it was. It's just that if he was driving, he would probably drive the speed limit as well, which I'm going to guess is less than 5 miles over the speed limit, typically, because that's what a lot of people do. But I don't know. I could be wrong. In terms of navigation in parking lots, he navigated to a parking lot and then to a supercharger. Navigating the parking lot was, this is his words, a lot smoother in 14.1. The car was more confident and safely made its way to the supercharger, chose a stall, and backed into the parking space, allowing for the car to charge. Now, he did mention that he's used the supercharger before, and he knows that the particular stall that he backed into, or the car backed into, had been broken, but the car must have known that it was fixed because when he got out, he was able to charge his car. So that's pretty cool. He also navigated a second parking lot, and the car found a parking space, and he said it did everything flawlessly. There was an incident where he came to an intersection. It was a green light. The car went into the intersection and was trying to turn left. While the car was in the intersection, he's waiting to turn left. There's other cars coming, oncoming traffic. He's waiting for those cars to clear, or the car is waiting for those cars to clear so it can turn left. In the middle of this, the light turned yellow and then the light turned red. Now, typically what would happen if it were me or most other humans is that the car would just, once the light turned red and the intersection was clear, you complete the turn. The Tesla actually backed up. There was nobody behind the car. So the Tesla put the car in reverse and backed up and waited for the light to turn green. And that way that they could make that turn eventually. Not exactly the wrong thing to do. I don't even actually know what the right thing to do in that situation is, because you're already in the intersection, but, interesting stuff. One time he was driving and the right turn signal came on as if it saw an emergency vehicle, and the car slowed down and pulled to the right, as if it was pulling over for an emergency vehicle. And then, because he had video of this, it goes, for about 10 or 15 feet and then goes back on the road as if nothing happened. In terms of navigation, like navigate on autopilot, I guess it's now full self-driving. He says that navigation seems to be familiar or similar to 13.2.9, which is to say, from his perspective, not great. The car makes strange decisions. It sometimes results in illogical and pointless directions. In one instance, the car, for some unknown reason, made a right turn, which was completely ignoring the directions. Like he was going, I can't remember exactly what direction the navigation was saying, but I think it was straight. And it made a right turn, completely ignoring which, like it shows it on the car, which way you're supposed to go. And it just made a right turn. So that was a weird thing. And, just kind of one of those things that Tesla has to work out. Overall, though, he was very impressed, or really impressed, with FSD 14.1, despite the handful of bugs that he experienced. And I just want to say this. he lives in Pennsylvania, right? Joey Klinder lives in Pennsylvania. And the town that he was driving around looked so beautiful. It makes me want to live in Pennsylvania. And that is actually like my grandpa, I can't remember where he was born, but he grew up in Pennsylvania when he was a child, because both of his parents had passed away. And then he was brought to his grandparents' house, which was in Pennsylvania. So that's where he grew up. So I do have connections to that state. And my grandpa spoke fondly of when he grew up or where he grew up. But yeah, the town he was driving in just looked amazing. Overall, I just want to say again, this is not a slight towards Fred Lambert or Joey Klinder's reporting. I think what they do is amazing. I hope to meet them one day. I'd love to have either one of them or both of them on the show to talk about this kind of stuff. I just think it's interesting because every week when I put together this show, I see the same story reported on differently from both outlets. And it's not always Joey and it's not always Fred. It could be somebody else from those outlets, but there's definitely a point of view. And I thought it might be fun to go through both of those points of view and just kind of bounce them off one another. All right, everybody. That is it for me. If you want to email me, it's Bodie, BODIE at 918digital.com. I am at Bodie on Sora if you have a Sora invite. And then on X, I'm 918digital. And on LinkedIn, you can just search for Bodie Grimm and follow me there if you're interested in that kind of thing. And I've got verbal approvals or confirmations of some really cool interviews, 2 of them, and that I'm excited to share with you. Unfortunately, I don't want to give too much information until they actually happen. So in the next 2 weeks, we should know more. But I have good feelings about the guests, very high quality guests. So which is, something that we've been very blessed with on this show. So yeah, that is it for me, folks. On Friday, we're going to do an earnings call. I don't know which one because I'm just barely crawling myself out of the hole that I dug last week. But Friday will be an earnings call, and then it won't be as long as Tesla's. And then next Tuesday, we'll be back into the news, and we'll just repeat back from earnings call until we get through them all. All right, everybody, thanks so much. I will talk to you on Friday, maybe? Friday. Friday seems like a good day. We'll see if it actually happens on Friday, but I'm going to try for Friday. Let's all shoot for Friday. Let's send your thoughts and prayers so that I could get the show out on an actual day that it's supposed to come out. Thoughts and prayers.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Skip the gym, not the workout. With Hydro, you get a full-body workout in just 20 minutes, hitting 86% of your muscles in one smooth, low-impact motion. And now there's the new Hydro Arc, Hydro's most advanced rower yet. Arc introduces Hydrometrics, tracking your power, endurance, and precision every time you row, so you can actually see your progress. Go to hydro.com and use code ROW to get $100 off any Hydro rower, including Arc. That's HYDROW.com, code ROW.
When too much work bogs you down, Asana helps you handle it. That's because Asana is where humans and AI coordinate work together. AI makes it easy to hand off routine tasks, streamline workflows, and keep everyone focused on the work that matters most. That's how work gets handled. That's Asana. Visit us at asana.com. That's ASANA.com.